something we can call traditional in the way of doing business. It is a normal, if I can put it. Where do you see this taking this business, say in the next 1 year?
I think a significant rise, not just in Uganda, but across the continent. And the way we look at technology or technology businesses, they don't do business for their own sake. They do business for an industry. You know, so for example, during the Resilience and Recovery Program, where we worked with entrepreneurs that are helping SMEs get online to continue doing business as usual. So we worked with the center, for example, and such that they can continue doing business as usual. And I remember they sent a video of a trader in Nakasero market who was selling chicken on their online platform. You get on, you order to the growth in the startup ecosystem, the growth in the industry of technology businesses doesn't lift them alone. It lifts just during immunization. I got a message from Rocket Health that they could deliver vaccines, to your home. Technology change traditional immunization where everybody has to line up in a hospital. Sure. And this can be replicated across tourism, across health, across education. Education is literally challenged at the moment, and it's probably COVID-19 has been the response we've been having to how do we change the education system, so when we emphasize the growth of the startup ecosystem of entrepreneurs, they will in turn create platforms and solutions for how we can lift and challenge the education system. But whereas that's the case, and I'm very happy to be at URA today. It's a conversation we've consistently had with URA in terms of, and it's not just an entrepreneur conversation, it's a government conversation, it's a private sector conversation, it's an academia conversation, it's an investor conversation. For us to achieve the promise of entrepreneurship, of lifting opportunities within, we all have that part to play. Otherwise, we're just moving in a technical. But at the moment, all indications are showing on the right trajectory. I wouldn't be here. I would be running away from URA.
I know. In this era, Ms. Rowena, where internet is not entrenched, wherever you go, you'll find it in urbanized places. Yes, people are using it. But beyond that, what happens? And I know that SMEs are not only in urban centers, they're up country everywhere. How can NITA help the country have?
So from a government perspective, we try to support SMEs and the smaller businesses, first and foremost by reducing the cost of doing business. So what we do as NITA, for example, is we build up a national backbone infrastructure which gives internet to government. So as we keep adding the number of entities using the internet for government, then in turn take advantage of economies of scale and reduce the cost for government. We found that in 2018, from 2016, the cost of internet for government reduced by more than 80% for government. What not in the private sector was a trend, because then the private sector players also reduced their cost of internet. So from a government perspective, what we do is we provide these shareable services like NBI, we provide services like a payment gateway to facilitate online transactions. We provide subsidized SMS gateway services for government entities so that the cost of them doing business is reduced. So then the effect on the citizen is that one, cost is cheaper for you, but also you don't have to drive spend your fuel or take a bus to town to get a service. You can sit at your home and use it, or you can log on to Facebook, or you like what we said about these digital services come up because people are mobile, and that is what we aim to do as government. So what we do is we're putting in place these various shareable services so that the cost of doing business can be reduced, not only for government to be receiving it, because if I paint a scenario, or if I go to a government entity, I have to go, drive, I've driven fuel, I've spent time, then I line up, then they tell me go to the bank and make this payment, then I have to drive back to the bank, then come back to the entity. That's time and that's money.
Cost.
Yes, it's all cost. So that is one of the ways that we are trying to make it easier for SMEs by reducing the cost of doing business.
Do you meet them? Do you talk to them?
Yes, we do actually. We've that's how I met Japheth. We have partnerships with UNCDF, UNICEF, all the entities that focus on SMEs and digital inclusion and financial inclusion. We have partnerships with the universities, with the innovators. We try to, as much as possible, understand it from their perspective. If you realize that one of the reasons that businesses or generally service delivery fails is if there is a gap in understanding. You'd be surprised to find out that in government we have 320 systems. Believe it or not, we actually have automated systems. But you have to fill in the power, fill out the line up, it's not enough to be because in many cases when you dig deep, you did not sit to understand what is the mistake, what is the need, what is the gap. So for us as Mita, we have actually changed our model, and we're trying to go in to look at what is the actual need, what is the actual problem, how do we come in and fill the gap that is existing among the SMEs, among the innovators, among the academia that are going to be churned out into the world. What are their needs? What is the cost of living for them? What do we have? What do we have available as government? So it's one of the things that we try to do as government. And I feel like we need to, as collectively as government, encourage SMEs to know what government is doing. You will find that somebody, if I ask me on this panel, how many of us know that we have a consumer protection portal? We don't. And
CPA.
Yeah, we don't. And we are here talking to SMEs because government is here to help you, but you must understand what they have put in place to help you. Electronic Transactions Act, there's an act. You know your rights. Electronic Signatures Act. We have the cyber laws. We have consumer protection. Now we have data protection and privacy. You must know if you want to have a strong foundation for your business, for it to thrive, you must be aware. What is government doing for me? What have they put in place? Where do I go if I feel like it's unjust? What are the tax laws? The business need to what is doing.
Here, and I think whoever is concerned with this, all of us, by the way, we have to be aggressive, when putting it out there. For example, Japheth is saying SMEs going when the eased, and the markets opened and other places, as we know, people now tradition, you have to walk there physically. And I know you're experiencing that as well. People have to walk there because that's what we know. We've been doing it, and this new shift might seem to be something hard for all of us to put in practice. So, teaching people the usefulness of this shift of going online. Your comment, Michael.
I think it really starts with that, but also the realization. I hear people saying I'm going on the internet, and I have said the internet is no longer a product. The internet is a marketplace. And when you start thinking that way, it also means your approach to how you appreciate internet or the use of the internet fundamentally changes. Now, and that means that there must be, I like what Nita is doing, but we need to see a little bit more in terms of accessible and affordable. The access to access to infrastructure, devices. Because you see, unless you're able to create a certain amount of demand, the private sector providers will not be able to bring down the cost we have made. 3 years ago, we had all sorts of, and tax was reinstated on laptops and smart gadgets. In some of the countries, what we're seeing is devices, smartphones are being regarded as computing devices and therefore don't attract a tax. So that way, a significant
I believe people like this is business that can come online.
I think absolutely right. Just see the amount of volume that has gone on Facebook in the last 4 months promoting products and services. Are they doing it well? Are they doing it professionally? You'll find all sorts of services. It's just amazing. The last 2 months, the kind of, if you want tailors, they're there. If you want whatever you can think about. Now, trust.
Yeah.
I bought products during the lockdown. Now, when you said I was like, okay, this is interesting. So the price point, this is the supplier. Okay. And this was on Twitter. So I called the guy and he says, do you have a WhatsApp number? I said, yes. Can you send me samples? Can I look at the picture? All looked fine. So I buy. Because it was friendly, I also bought for the kids. In a week, they were all in pieces. So I called this guy, and I'm like, he says, yeah, but that's what you paid for. I said, but go back to your description. Because you're now not having a promoter, someone who's going to speak well about this, someone who's going to just say, look, this is what we depend on is the and doesn't have a value, the trustworthiness. Can I worthily speak about this business? So I called the guy and I said, I like what you're doing and I really want to mentor you and support you. However, my concern right now is because you're online, it's also a business to a certain class of people. And if you don't change the quality of products that you're bringing in, you're likely to be hit. Because if I buy it, 20,000 during lockdown is a lot of money. So if I lose it immediately, do you think I'm going to come back to you? So, but also because there's a variety, there are more options to pick from. I'll probably find someone else. So any business can technically or typically go online. Just see what has happened with safe food. Is it safe border food?
They're quite many.
Yes. The guy under a tree has signage, safe border food. Implying you can order the guy who roasts or the Rolex using safe border. And that means they're more like CK was saying, 4,000 businesses were able to integrate the payment. But that was because it was crunch time. It was a crisis. Has the behavior changed?
Yes, you want to come?
I think the behavior can't change immediately.
Sure.
And like CK said, COVID will be 2 months, and months we will end up having.
We're going into a year.
But I know that government in the National Development Plan already had this in plan. This is the trend and I was sharing. Government is planning to expand the internet reach from 38% to 70%. So as we are moving towards there, yes, some people will go back to the brick and mortar, but I think the pressure around may not allow so many to go. And also, our government is planning to reduce the unit cost of internet. $37 US, and government plans that within 5 years we should be at $70 US, the cost of internet.
I thought we were already
We're already at 70 actually. We give it to the BPO. Yes, we are. $70 per M, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Which
And
is
for the
very
BPOs
good.
and
Which
universities,
is
it's
very
now
good.
it's at 35.
Okay. Also, there's a plan to increase the population accessing online, the proportion of the population. But for government, the government does not use ourselves having to attend physical meetings when there's Zoom and all this. So government also has to be a major for us to be able to support the
Even with this
SMEs.
lockdown,
Yes.
I know of offices
Yes.
that have not picked up
They haven't
already.
picked up.
They still want to meet
But
physically.
also, I also wanted
Interesting.
about tax regime. Yes, we need to look at the tax regime, but which half of those are employees? So if we look so much at the tax regime as the solution, we still have to regulate. So how do we support the small and medium enterprises to grow so that they contribute their part for us to be able to support? We know that our tax to GDP is only compared to our. So we need to find ways and we need to and I like what Nitayu is doing and Japheth is that how do we encourage many more to get on board? Of course, as a revenue administrator, it's very, very important for us that businesses are alive. Businesses are alive. That's why we've come up with even the interventions of we are ready to you. Those who, I know not so many go to court, but we're also ready to discuss the alternative dispute resolutions and not allow people to go to court. We are using a lot of our data and analysis, engaging national water and what to be able to expand the base and know if Frank has 10 water meters, then he should be paying some good amount of money without me looking for. If he has before I go to squeeze the person who is doing it, I'm doing that analysis here. I'm working with national water, I'm working with KCCA. Frank has 4 shops. And I also know that the government, in the programs that are coming through, we're working together to have one source of personal information. You know, now you go to NIRA, you come to URA, we will ask you what is your name, your mother's name, your... So we all come together, we'll be able to tell Frank's actual income.
We will come to that.
Income, then we are able to allow about security. Who in the country is looking at quality? As we go online, those earphones that are supporting that business, who is going to give me confidence as merely that chapati
Quality
is quality and will not give me issues? I think that is an area we also need to look at as we need to come out of the COVID.
Japheth.
One thing
Yes, sir.
around the slight intervention around the tax regime. And this is really my personal opinion. I have a very fundamental issue with how we see tax regime in this country and how we approach it. URA will tell you tax is a non-profit. Like you do not expect a similar goods of goods and services for the same amount of tax you have paid. And I find that very troubling, especially for the ICT sector. And this is why. We keep saying, look, we expand the infrastructure and things like that, but you do not see a direct, and probably this is really even beyond URA. If we said in terms of appropriation, all the money we are getting from OTT and sector and do all these nice things. So that's, to me, that really 5 priority areas in terms of budget allocation. Maybe could advise how you're not even among the top 5. But we see it. We see the enabling influence, we see the catalytic work it's doing, and that kind of thing. So I think that strand from maybe URA as policy influence, from Ministry of as policy advisors, through cabinet, through that discussion, all the way through the mother ministry, that strand needs to be very clear and streamlined if we are really going to say that, look, we want this sector to be where we projected it to be in all these NDP3s and Vision 2014 and things like that. So I think the resource allocation has to match the talk.
Yeah,
if I could just speak to that a bit, what he's actually right. The funds are allocated to the sector, yes, in that case. But as government, I like what Millie said. It's true. We've begun to collaborate and say, okay, we don't have enough funding, but we have a partnership with 19 private sector players, for example, on the internet. So they buy bulk, they resell, it's cheaper for us, cheaper for them. Partnership. We have a partnership with an industrial park in Namambe, manufacturing phones locally. Partnership. We have partnerships with the Innovation Hub to have a mobile container where all these tiny e-services are in one place for convenience. So as we work, as we acknowledge where we are, one of the things we're leveraging is partnerships, because without partnerships, it's very hard to go by. And I feel like this is particularly important for SMEs because they don't have the amount of capital that, say, Mulwana might have, or, you know, a bigger industry. So for the SMEs, my advice would be to focus on relationships, peer-to-peer relationships. I always say your network is your network. You need to know somebody who knows somebody, or somebody who can because especially for digital, if you're going digital, you need to have people who can, like how Michael said, he would never encourage anyone to buy those earphones. So for SMEs, their biggest asset, I think, is partnerships. Find peers, find people who can refer your product, people who can relax, people who've been there before you can application yourself, but mostly leverage on partnerships, because there'll never be enough money to get the job done. But once you collaborate, I think you can get, there's nothing unstoppable. And the beauty of digital is it has removed all these barriers. You know, analog gave us barriers. Am I the right religion? Is my product looking the right way? Am I in the right political party? You know, but when it's things online, there's no barriers. You can be anyone, look anywhere, sell any product, as long as you can reach a greater market. I think it has opened a lot of opportunity, but partnerships, peer-to-peer relationships are one of the ways that you can get your business booming, or your, you know, without...
Miller hinted at synchronizing data. You know, if the data that you have it. If you go to another government institution, do they have it? You know, those things that make work easy.
It's where
are we now?
We actually have a project that's ongoing. Like she said, one of a single source of truth that's pegged to the national ID. So we've already, you will be surprised at what government will be doing. So we're working with key institutions, URSP, NERA, URA, KCCA, to synchronize this data, immigration, so that when you go to, I just show you my national ID, and you are able to see the details of who I am. The beauty of this happening now is we have the National Data Privacy and Protection Act. We are working on regulations, so the platform is there. We should, as government, be postured to give you the confidence that we are not going to abuse your data. You will not hopefully find somebody selling your personal details on it. Your details will be online, they will be secure, they will be verifiable across the board. So you should be able to go to one stop, get a service, pay your tax happily, smiling that I'm not suffering. You know?
Silver is here, should there be a breach. We run to silver. Okay, but back to SMEs. You know, in business, when you go to buy, you also looking for quality. Michael was talking about the earphones, the quick example. You know, doesn't it worry that when SMEs go online, these values are going to be eroded or fed somehow?
Of course, it's a very valid worry if you look at honesty. We've all received that email address, and you didn't know this one is not coming from an honest sender. About how much money you're going to receive if you do A, B, C, D. You've all seen that WhatsApp message to send you these things from wherever but first send me X. So that's why I said that where there's money, the scammers will definitely. That's a risk, and it's a valid risk. But I think the risk of not acting, of not going digital, of not exploring the opportunities that can come with digital is even higher for us, and that's why we need guys like Silver to ensure the protection is there, the policies are there, and we need government to make sure that they are enacting this. But as much as that's the case, for me, what's keeping me more up at night is the movement to action for what needs to be done, for all of these benefits to come to life. I think we're losing a lot of time from knowing what to do, but not quickly moving into the action that will bring the opportunities to life. A lot of what Silva was discussing, and I've had this conversation with him, is what can become a step act. How do we support small entrepreneurs and small businesses that are trying to grow? So how do we quickly move to ensure that relevant policy is in place to protect against the scammers? There is one thing of it being in place, and then operationalizing it is completely a different ballgame. So I think the cost to keeping quickly by the private sector is what's going to get us left behind. I remember it was 4 a.m. I think a week ago, and I was watching, Tesla, NASA, launching, to the space mission, and you can see all of these ideas